Welcome everyone to Bonifabcustom. My name's Rob, and today we have a special episode. We are building, or we're part of, or I'm part of, the Fantasy Knife Challenge. And this is a bunch of knife makers and fabricators that are all making a specific or making their own design of a fantasy knife. Now, don't forget to look at the sponsors below. We thank the sponsors and all the other participants of this Fantasy Knife Challenge. Check out all their videos because there's a voting for the best knife, best fantasy knife at the end of this competition. So, to begin this build, I like to do some drawings, maybe think of a design, something that's fantasy related. Let's get right into it. So I have some paper here and I'm going to do some preliminary sketches to kind of get an idea of what I want to make. Now, when I think of fantasy, I'm thinking more futuristic, something that you might not see in a regular knife, or something that is more, say, seen on a movie because they can digitally edit it and make things that cannot be made a reality to your eyes, basically. So I want to, on that kind of thought, I want to make something that kind of a dagger, probably a dagger type. Seems like the dagger is one of my favorite types of knives. And I want to make it so something can come out. So either I have a blade or something that can swing out, or maybe even like a blade on the side that can kind of fold in, or maybe even a bigger blade. So that being said, you know, it would be a little complicated because there has to be some sort of mechanism inside here that would help push those blades out. Now, I'm not even sure if I can do it. I'm just kind of getting my head wrapped around it. If I had some blades like this, and maybe like, I don't know, I'd have a guard, or maybe something a little simpler. And have it so I have to kind of have some sort of mechanism here. So it has to pivot on something, and maybe I have like a main shaft in here that would kind of pull down on the teeth, put them in, and something on that line of thought. And this would be a fixed blade then, maybe like just a straight handle dagger style. And the mechanism probably would have to be pulled or pushed in here somewhere. And again, drawing it, I mean, you can have all kinds of thoughts when you draw it, or all kinds of things, but really making something that has some movement to it is a whole different story. And of course, I want to make it some sort of, I'm thinking some sort of mosaic Damascus. I'll make all the steel some sort of mosaic, of course, right? If I'm going that far, might as well go all the way. Okay, so I have, say, an idea of having some blades that can come out and can fold in. That would be really cool. And I need some sort of mechanism to put in there to make that happen. So I can only draw so much. When you're talking about something that complicated with some sort of mechanism, I really need to put this on CAD, because it's going to give me the real measurements. It's going to make me be able to move it around. And then what I like to do after that is, I have it in 3D. Then I want to take it and print out a real copy of it, so I can hold it in my hand and see if this is actually going to work before I, spend all the time machining and forging and things like that. So let's go to the computer and let's see if we can design something that's going to work. Okay, so I spent some time drawing this up, almost a couple of days basically, and I need to do that because I need to draw up a basic shape. I have to draw a handle, a guard, then fit it all together and then take it apart. And if you look at it now, I have these in different colors here. Here's the handle, something I'm thinking about. The actual blade, it's going to be split in two because I need to put a mechanism inside there. And I'll just open up where the teeth are and the rack. And let's look at this mechanism here. And you can see there I have these gears, or these teeth, that are going to make those teeth open and close. And I'm going to just open up the right ones. Okay, there they are. So I have these teeth that once this mechanism gets pulled back right here somewhere in the handle, or pulled forward, it's going to open up the teeth, and once it pulled back, it closes the teeth, or the blades, these 8 blades that are on the side of the knife. Now they have to be thin. This rack that's holding it has to be pretty precise, because it's going to be operating, all these gears here. So it has to like mesh together. That's another reason why, I draw it on here. And I can also take it all apart into different pieces. And then, let me just show you, I'll just take this off. So now it's in 3D view, and I can move it to a certain degree. I can scale it, and the best part is I can print it out and try it. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that the teeth and that those gears are actually going to work when I open and close it. So I'm going to print that first, and then I'm going to start, after that works, I will print the whole mechanism and the knife together so I can have a good idea of how it's going to work and look. Okay. All right, so this is the first print I made to make sure that the rack opens and closes with the teeth. And basically it's just a simple design. It's gonna close the teeth like that, so they will be along the side, nice and straight, hopefully. And when I push open, they actually lock into place, like right inside there. So I'm hoping that this is going to work. So with this print, it kind of lets me know that the gears and the spacing and everything is going to work. So now I'm going to print up a larger model, one of the whole knife and the blades inside, so I can use it as kind of like a template when I start making my Damascus. All right, so here are the parts for the knife, and you can see there's going to be 2 separate pieces because that's the only way I can get these gears and the rack and everything inside here so they can have movement. And my idea is to basically I'm going to make 2 pieces, 2 billets or 2 blanks, and I'm going to put them together. I'm going to machine them, grind them, and then once it's all together, I can kind of shape the outside and shape the blade and stuff like that. I'm going to use these holes to fasten it all together. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to use screws or like a special fastener, or I'm just going to put brass in there or copper and just peen it over. And let's see, here's the rack. So that's the full rack there. and it's going to slide there. Inside here, it's guided right here by that center section. And again, these are the blades, and they're going to go somewhere like that. And they're going to also have a little shaft that goes inside there that hopefully, you know, I'm going to make out of brass or copper, and then I'll pin that over too, and hopefully that works. But that's basic concept. It's giving me an idea of, you know, how much I have to cut. They're about a 1/16 in thickness, the rack and all these blades, and then it will fit together. And then I kind of designed a guard that I can make in 2 pieces, because I needed to hold this whole thing together and the handle. And I also have this that needs to freely move in between everything. So it's a little different than your typical knife. Again, this is, I mean, a fantasy knife. That's why I'm doing it. I just wanted something that, you know, you'd think you couldn't do, but I always like to do the things that someone may say you can't do in a knife, or it's impossible. And I don't know unless I do it, but hopefully it's going to work out. So this would actually fit in there and hold all this together. It'd be held together by these fasteners, and the handle is going to come out from here, and hopefully I'm going to have a hole here that I can pull on this to make it all work. Okay, so now is I think the hard part. We are going to make, or I'm going to start making some Damascus, and I'm going to make a I'm thinking I'm going to make a mosaic pattern. So I need to make it thick enough and big enough that I can split it in half and use it for 2 sides. So let's get on that part and start forging. Okay, so now I have them cut, and I have 3 somewhat equal sized pieces. You can see them there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mill them square. Take off that little bit of TIG welding and just give it a nice finish. That'll be easier for me to restack and forge weld it again. So let's get on the milling machine and mill it. Okay, so now I have the 3 pieces all machined square, and they're all the same size. Okay, so now after machining, you can see this is what we're left with, and the lines are going this way, and these are the other 2 billets, and I rounded this so it would fit in tightly into that radius. So this one's going to go in there, and this one's going to go in there. So okay, so here's the 4 pieces cut, and I just
around the ends. I'm just going to take a look at the pattern quickly, and then I'm going to put them on the mill and mill the outside again. Okay, so I have the pieces cut. So I have 2 pieces of 1095, 2 pieces of 15 and 20, and I have to cut 1 more piece of each of these for 1095, same. So it's going to have this bright line and a dark line in the middle. So cut 1 more piece and then weld. Okay, there's the billet. I'm a little worried that I had some cracking in it, but we will soon find out when I machine it. So fingers crossed. Okay, so here is the billet machined. So, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a test edge on the end. Just put my gloves back on because it is hot. Okay. Cross your fingers. Let's hope it's looks half decent. Okay, let me just clean it up so I can see it a little bit better.
So I've been running the forge for about 3 days, going through this mosaic Damascus. But unfortunately, I think I have a small crack in it, and I mean, this is going to be the 4th forge weld, and I'm kind of worried that I'm going to forge weld it or draw it out to the billets that I need or the blanks I need, and then there's going to be a giant crack or something. So for this contest or for this fantasy knife build, I just can't take that risk. So at the same time, I also forged some feathered Damascus. So I think I'm going to just go ahead with the feathered Damascus because I think it's really good. And if I get stuck or later on, I can always draw this mosaic Damascus, which looks good. But I know when I did this last forge weld, it had a little crack inside the middle there, and I just don't want to take that chance. So unfortunately, we can't use that for this. We're going to go ahead and use the feathered Damascus. And I filmed some of it. So what I'm going to do is, this video is kind of just to kind of rush through the build. But in the following weeks, I'm going to get a little more into the specifics of how I designed and how I went through with the feathered Damascus and how I machined the parts and forged stuff, all that fitment and stuff like that. I'll get more into that in the following weeks, but for this one, I wanted it to be a complete video of the actual finished product. So that being said, let's get into making the parts, the other parts of the knife, and cutting out this feathered Damascus. Check it out. Listen to that clicking. Nice. Isn't that awesome? Now the best part of this is they stay down, so if it goes into something, it's going to be like a barb. So there it is. Knife came out good. It's all done. Works great. And yeah, pretty heavy. And that's because it's abnormally a lot thicker than a normal knife, because I have all these gears and that mechanism, that rack and everything inside here. And again, I'm going to be showing a little more in depth of more details on this knife in the coming weeks. But yeah, make sure you watch the other videos of the other makers because they're awesome knives, awesome builds. And don't forget to vote on your best fantasy knife. I appreciate your support on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and push that button for notifications for more videos just like this one, forging and fabrication. Thanks.